Welcome to the Bullet Points podcast by Gun Hub News. All right, let's dive straight into something that might just raise an eyebrow or two today. HiPoint firearms. Yes, that HiPoint. The folks known for their, shall we say, very distinctive and super budget-friendly handguns. Well, they're jumping into the AR-15 pool with a new rifle called the HP-15.
Yeah, it's definitely a move, isn't it? HiPoint. I mean, they've got their corner of the market for sure.
Yeah.
But deciding to wade into the AR-15 world, that's crowded territory and pretty demanding, you know?
Right. It kind of feels like finding out your local greasy spoon diner is suddenly adding, I don't know, molecular gastronomy to the menu. You're curious, maybe a little confused, because let's face it, HiPoint pistols, they have a certain reputation.
Reputation is maybe a polite way to put it. For a lot of shooters, their handguns, especially like the C9, they're almost legendary for being, well, let's just say they're the punchline to a lot of jokes. Dirt cheap, often called kind of grotesque, fat, definitely not smooth.
Distinctive is a good word. I've heard them called things like the brick, or about as comfy as holding a cinder block, you know, and racking the slide. People say it's like trying to start a stubborn lawnmower sometimes.
And that trigger pull.
Yeah.
People talk about it having its own zip code, like 8 pounds. That's a very, very deliberate trigger pull. There's that old saying, right? If your HiPoint jams, wow, you've still got a pretty decent bludgeon. It paints a picture.
It really does. But, okay, here's the flip side. For all the jokes, for all the, let's say, unconventional looks, those pistols generally do work. You hear stories, you know, that maybe they need a break-in period, maybe some initial hiccups that clear up after a good clean and oil.
Exactly. Once you get past that, they can actually be surprisingly reliable, especially considering what you pay for them. They might not be winning any beauty contests or speed trials, but they go bang.
Yeah, they fill a niche, don't they? Super affordable self-defense. You can often find them for, under $200? It puts a firearm within reach for people on a really tight budget. Maybe not pretty, but functional.
Definitely more of a nightstand gun or maybe a truck gun than something you'd try to conceal carry. Substantial. Let's go with substantial.
And accuracy. Okay. Probably not going to be driving tags at 50 yards. But reports say they're decent enough up close, like maybe inch groups at 10 yards, but stretch it out to 25 yards. And yeah, things apparently open up quite a bit, maybe 3-4 inches.
So with that whole background story for their pistols announcing an AR-15, the HP-15, it definitely makes you kind of stop and go, huh.
Well, this new HP-15 isn't just one gun either. They're launching a 16-inch rifle version and also a couple of pistol versions with 10.5-inch barrels.
Oh, okay. What calibers are we talking? Standard stuff?
Pretty much. The rifle and one of the pistols are in 5.56 NATO, you know, a standard AR round. And then the other pistol variant is going to be in .300 blackout.
Right.
So covering the big bases there.
Okay. And what about the actual bits and pieces? Are they just slapping their name on some generic parts kit, or? It sounds a bit more involved than that, actually. The feature list they've put out sounds, well, pretty standard AR, surprisingly. You've got your A2 birdcage flash hider, a 16-inch barrel on the rifle with a carbine gas system, free float MLOK handguard, that's pretty standard now, full-length Picatinny rail on top for optics. Naturally, they're saying it's a mil-spec receiver set.
Mil-spec, from my point. Okay. And a guts.
M16 bolt carrier group, which is good. Full auto-rated, black nitride coated. They're also mentioning a polished trigger, possibly nickel boron coated, they said. Stainless steel hammer. And an adjustable stock on the rifle, of course. The pistols get free-floated MLOK rails, too. Standard birdcage flash hiders. Gas systems differ, though. Pistol length for the .300 blackout, carbine length for the 5.56 pistol.
Polished trigger, but still mil-spec single stage, right? So maybe a bit smoother than a gritty standard trigger, but not like a fancy drop-in?
Probably, yeah. And the receivers are likely, you know, the standards 77.5 T6 aluminum. Handguard probably 60601. Barrels, word is they might be cold hammer forged. They're assembling them in the U.S. using American parts initially, but the goal seems to be bringing more production in-house eventually.
Okay, so it sounds like they're trying to hit the expected marks for a basic AR. But here's the thing that really makes you look twice. The price. They're saying the MSRP for all of them, the rifle, the 5.56 pistol, the .300 blackout pistol, is going to be under $500.
Boom. There it is. That's the HiPoint signature move, right? Sub $500 for an AR-15. That puts it right in contention with the most budget-friendly options out there.
That's definitely going to get people talking. It fits their whole affordable working man's gun or, budget king image perfectly.
Absolutely. And their thinking seems to be, look, we sell a ton of pistol caliber carbines. Our customers are often first-time buyers. When those buyers want to step up to an intermediate rifle cartridge like 5.56, why should they go somewhere else? Let's keep them in the HiPoint ecosystem.
Makes sense from their side. Offer that next step at a price point those customers are already used to seeing from HiPoint. But man, the budget AR market is packed. You've got brands like Palmetto State Armory, Radical, Anderson, ATI, tons of options already under, say, $600 or even lower sometimes. So how does the HP-15 actually compete? Is price alone enough?
Price is huge, obviously. But the other ace HiPoint has up its sleeve is that lifetime warranty. They're known for it. It applies no questions asked, basically. And putting that on an AR-15 under $500, that's actually pretty compelling.
Yeah, that's a good point. In the budget tier, sometimes warranties can be a bit iffy or non-existent. Yeah. So lifetime coverage is definitely a selling point. Thinking about HiPoint and their creative use of hydro dipping on their other guns.
Oh, yeah. The $100 bill finish, the camo patterns.
Right, like that M81 woodland camo they do.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if we eventually see some wild-looking HP-15s down the road. Hydro-dipped HiPoint AR.
Wow. It would certainly stand out. Looking at the initial reactions online, it's exactly what you'd expect. A ton of skepticism, people kind of scoffing at mil-spec from HiPoint, lots of comparisons to those other budget brands you mentioned, like Radical or Bear Creek.
Oh, the comment sections. Always a gold mine. I saw a few questioning if it's made of pot metal, which, to be clear, the specs say aluminum, but, the reputation. And, yeah, lots of, is it better than a PSA? Type questions. And I did see that one comment, just trailer parks rejoice.
Yeah, there's definitely that kind of snark out there. But you also see some folks maybe grudgingly saying, hey, if it works and it's cheap, good for them. There was even one comment like, hope they sell a boatload of them, even if they only work once, which is kind of funny in a dark way.
So, summing it all up, HiPoint, famous for cheap, often kind of ugly, but generally functional pistols and carbines. Now they're launching the HP-15, an AR-15 rifle and two pistol versions, 5.56 and .300 blackout, all aiming for under $500 and backed by that lifetime warranty. Expected around June 2025.
Yeah.
Lots happen.
It really is. And it leaves us with a big question for you listening, doesn't it? Given everything we know about HiPoint, their history, their reputation, can this HP-15 actually make a dent in the budget AR market? Will people give it a chance? Or is that HiPoint name just too much baggage for the AR crowd? And what does it say about the market overall that we're seeing this kind of product emerge? Definitely something to chew on.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks for listening to the Bullet Points podcast by Gun Hub News.